Typically when choosing a spur gear oil pump, you have one of two choices, either standard volume or high volume, and that's it. Well, at Moroso Performance, we've expanded your horizons with a variety of different pumps that have internal and external changes that'll give you exactly the pump you need for your application. Now sitting here I have two big block and two small block cast OEM based oil pumps. They look the same, but they perform very differently based on internal modifications that Moroso has done. Now both of these pumps will take a tube style pickup, but the big difference is with both of these pumps is what we call an anti-cavitation groove. Now on lower RPM applications that these pumps were built for, everything works very well with them up to a certain amount of RPM. Once you get into higher RPMs, such as drag race and circle track engines above 7,000 RPM, we have what's called cavitation occurring. And basically what cavitation is when the inlet is filling the inlet side of the gear with oil at a certain RPM, depending on the application, it can't fill that gear enough. And when that gear has voids in it where the oil can't go, those are air pockets. When those air pockets are compressed, your oil pressure fluctuates, and that's what you see on the needle, whether you're on the dyno or in the car. An anti-cavitation groove is an enlargement of the inlet casting around the gear that ensures a fuller fill rate of the gear, therefore keeping that oil pressure continuous through the higher RPM range. The disadvantage for this on certain applications, particularly street or pro street applications, is at low RPM and at idle, you have much lower oil pressure than you would normally have. Because of the inefficiency at low RPM, the efficiency is greater at higher RPM, thus that's why we have that for racing applications. It's important to know this based on exactly what you plan on spending a majority of your time doing with this oil pump. Now with anything like a cast pump that we've had in the past, breakage does occur based on the environment of a race car, drag racing, and circle track alike. These necks on these cast pumps that Moroso has built for them are a lot thicker, and the castings are a lot bulkier in certain parts to prevent this from happening. The small block Chevy pumps have what we call a tough neck design around the neck area because these were more prone to breakage. And we also have them with a 5/8 and a 3/4 inch inlet tube available. We took the same components from these pumps and then built them into a billet aluminum housing. By doing this, we've ensured that we're never going to have any necks breaking. The pickup is built onto it, so there's ever going to be any failures there. And by building them to our specs, we're able to close up on certain tolerances that make it important to increase the efficiency of this pump, along with thrust bearing assemblies to prevent touchdown of the gear in the housing, and an O-ring at the seam to make it even more efficient and airtight to prevent oil from leaking out. The small block comes in a high volume version, where the big block version comes in both standard and high volume. One of the nice benefits of a standard volume big block pump is we've actually found on larger cubic inch small block engines, the standard volume pump is actually a really good pump to use and works very efficiently on those setups. These pumps will clear all the major strokes that'll typically go on that same type of wet sump block, will go on to most main caps and clear a lot of the studs and nuts that exist on those. Obviously having the pickups built on it, you got to ensure that the oil pan that you have will accommodate the depth that's here. And core-based pans typically don't always work with these pumps because they're larger in the back, so refer to the Moroso catalog to make sure you have the right application. As with any Moroso oil pump, we have a large selection of tube-style pickups, fastener kits and such that go along with these pumps, and all the typical drive shafts that you would need to run these on your engine. If you have any questions, call Moroso Tech Department or go to Moroso.com to see the full line of pumps and accessories that go on all of the Moroso spur gear pumps that we have available.